looking forward to the 2023 Jacksonville Jaguars season, who are the 5 biggest impact players the Jaguars need to have huge production out of in 2023 if they're going to be successful? Obviously, we're a couple weeks away from free agency starting. We're about a month and a half away from the draft really kicking off. But I wanted to take the time, look at the roster, and say, who are the big stars on this team? Obviously, the biggest star is Trevor Lawrence. He's going into his third year, second with Doug Peterson. Had an incredible year, a Pro Bowl year, threw for over 4,000 yards. He had a great second year in the league, ultimately with Calvin Ridley coming in. How well is Trevor Lawrence going to play? I'm expecting very big things from him. I would not be surprised if Trevor Lawrence flirts with a 4,500 passing yards, if he flirts with 30-plus touchdowns. If he keeps that, 8 to 10 interception, I'm okay with that. I'm obviously not happy with it. I would love to see him south of 7. But ultimately, 8 to 10, with how aggressive he is, I would totally be okay with a 30 touchdown, 10 interception year, 4,500 yards from Trevor Lawrence. I think that gets him another Pro Bowl nod and even gets him flirting with All-Pro. Absolutely, Trevor Lawrence obviously is the end and start of the conversation with players that need to have a great year. But since we're doing a top 5 list, we're going to keep it moving. Number 2 for me is Trayvon Walker, a massive, massive need on this team is pass rush. And when you take a guy number 1 overall, like you do Trayvon Walker, you have that second year of development, whether he's putting his hand in the dirt and playing more as a defensive tackle, or you keep him outside just because of the lack of help this team has out there. Either way, Trayvon Walker needs to be better than what he was at getting to the quarterback and bringing down the quarterback, whether that just be a 7-sack year. I think that would be a very acceptable second year for Trayvon Walker. Really show a development and show a progression that can be tangible, and you can look at it and go, okay, this is good. We're getting something out of him. Ultimately, whether or not he's the replacement for Josh Allen, who's playing on his 5th-year option. If they get a deal done, great. But who is going to be the guy that carries the torch for this Jaguars pass rushing group? I think it could be Trayvon Walker. I think he could be an incredible interior pass rusher. Ultimately, he is my second biggest Jaguar that needs to have a huge impact in 2023. Number 3, Calvin Ridley. I talked about him a little bit with Trevor. He's coming into a wide receiver room that is talented. Zay Jones, Christian Kirk, they're 2 very good wide receivers. Whether or not they keep Agnew as a gadget player, that's great. But he's coming in to kind of be that torch carrier for this wide receiver room that the Jaguars have. Ultimately, Christian Kirk carried it in 2022. He had an incredible year, over 1,000 yards. But Calvin Ridley is coming in to be that dominant number 1 for Trevor Lawrence, and he's going to have to be that if the Jaguars want to contend with the elite of the elite in the AFC. Patrick Mahomes getting another year under his belt. Josh Allen is going to be hungry for blood after the postseason exit that he had. Joe Burrow. Obviously, the Bengals are loaded with talent with Jamar Chase, Tyler Boyd, and T. Higgins if Higgins stays in Kansas City. And that's just scraping the surface of what is out there in the AFC. Calvin Ridley is going to have a monster year for this wide receiver room. Now, my 4th guy that I do think is going to have a massive year in 2023 for the Jaguars to be successful is Devin Lloyd. Obviously, kind of for the same reason that Trayvon Walker needs to have a huge impact in 2023. It's the second year. He started off white hot. He was looking like he was the front runner to be Defensive Rookie of the Year. Ultimately, takes a massive step back for some reason throughout some part of the year. And then, Chad Moon was playing above him. And it just seemed like Devin Lloyd was lost. I didn't understand why he was taking this massive step back. He needs to take that step forward again, at least get to what we expected out of his rookie year, and then surpass that in the second half of his second year. Whatever happened, bygones are bygones. Hey, your rookie year is your rookie year. That's your mulligan year. Everyone knows that. Second year development is the big jump. Devin Lloyd needs to have a big jump because there was a lot expected of him, and he absolutely dropped the ball throughout the second half of the year. And now my 5th Jaguar that needs to have a massive impact on the 2023 season is a guy, Travis Etienne. Ultimately, he has a 1,000-yard season, a really quiet 1,000-yard season. He had multiple 100-yard games after the departure of James Robinson, and he really kind of solidified himself as one of the better young running backs in the National Football League. I think this is a huge opportunity for him to kind of showcase what he can do in the league and really solidify himself as one of the best overall backs in the league. If he flirts with 1,400 yards, if he gets you that 1,100 number once again, then he gets you, 2, 3, even 400 yards through the air, flirts with 10, 12 touchdowns, that would be a huge season for Travis Etienne. And it's a season I think that this Jaguars offense will need to have with how pass heavy they're going to be. They're going to need to have a great running game to substantiate that as well. And you're going to need to have, the yin and the yang. I don't want Trevor Lawrence out there throwing the ball 45, 50 times a game because he has to. Travis Etienne needs to be productive in the running game. It's on the offensive line as much as it is on him. But he needs to get the fumble issue under control, and if he does, I think he's in for a massive 2023 season, and that's why I think he's the 5th most important Jaguar going into the 2023 season prior to the draft and prior to the free agency period starting. Let me know what you guys think down below in the comments section. Who are your kind of more important Jaguars outside of Trevor Lawrence and the big names that I kind of hit at the beginning of the video? Who do you guys really think needs to have a huge year in 2023 to have the Jaguars be successful? Let me know down in the comments. I'd love to have that conversation with you guys. Thank you so much for watching. Stay safe and go Jaguars.